So now that we finished our base values, we need to add some actual details in the normal map. And to do this, we're going to create a new layer. We're going to be creating a fill layer. Let's go ahead and call this details. So over here, we want to have some details for our material. Since we have a leather material, let's go ahead and add some leather details. So I want to add a black mask. Then we're going to add a fill. Then over here, we can just look in texture for leather. Now you can either use a tiling leather map that you downloaded online from somewhere, or you can use the default one in Painter. For now, we're just going to be using the default one in Painter. So if we alt-click this map, you can see our leather. This one, I don't want to set to triplanar projection because I want the details to follow the direction that I've set in the UVs. Now let's go ahead and adjust the tiling of it so we can get smaller details of the leather, or we can get bigger details of the leather. So a good rule is to go a little bit bigger than you'd have in real life. So for example, in real life, it would be more like 2.8 maybe. Like it's very small looking detailed leather. But this is not going to read well once we zoom out. Usually when you do stuff for games, you want to over-exaggerate the size of things a little bit, so they read better from a distance. So maybe we can go with 1.8 instead. Let's alt-click this. And if we take a look at this, everything that's going to be white is going to be shown. Everything that's going to be black is going to be invisible. So I think in our case, it would be easier if this map was inverted in color. So we can go ahead and do a levels. And we can say invert. Now you can see we just have some leather crack details showing through. So what we can do now is we're going to alt-click height, because we only want to put some height for now. Again, just like with the channels, it will just have it in the height channel now. Now we're going to add a little bit of height. This should be going in. Also, it's a little noisy, this map. What we can try to do is we can add a filter and a blur. This is going to blur out our mask a bit. Let's keep this at a very subtle value of maybe 0.1. So that looks still a little bit too much. 0.7. 6. Just want to see how low I can go until it becomes noisy again. So I think like 6 is a good value. This is just going to make it look a little bit softer and less noisy. Right now we just have noise. Now we're actually getting some details. I think we can also bump this up to maybe 0.9 to get it looking nice and soft. Let's also go ahead and try the other leather. Just gonna clear this and look for leather. Let's see how this looks if we put this one in here. And I do think I prefer the first one, so let's undo that. Maybe let's go with 1.4 instead, so it becomes a little bit more readable. Maybe 1.3. We can mess as long as we want with the size. I think I'm going to go with 1.1 so it's nice and readable. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit more depth maybe. just like this. So now we have some details in the height, which is gonna make it look more detailed in the normal plus height mesh. You can see we have those details popping through. But we also want this to be in the color. So what we can do is we can add a fill. Actually, we can add a filter. Excuse me. In the filter, we're gonna add a HSL. Then we're gonna go ahead and put the lightness up or down. You will see nothing happens because right now we have our blending mode set to normal. Let's change this to pass through. Now you will see it will start to do things. Bump up the saturation. It's not just becoming white. And look for something that looks nice and natural. And again, because we're doing this with filters, if we were to change our very first base value to like a green, you will see that now we have a perfectly looking nice green ladder. Let's go back to our details. I'm gonna add one more filter. Also right click the pass through, apply to all channels. Actually, let's undo that. I don't want it in the height, so Control C. Let's go to height, roughness. I'm going to put this to pass through. Now if we go to the roughness channel, let's go ahead and fill this with a contrast luminance filter. I'm going to make this very like rough. So now this looks all messed up because we forgot to alt click the roughness. Now you can see we have some ladder details. This is looking very strong, the details. So let's go ahead and adjust it a little bit. I think we can tone down the color a little bit more. Something like this. Let's mess with the height. Do something like this. Now that's starting to look a lot better. Now I want to add a little bit of a breakup in our details. So if we alt click this, we can go ahead and add a fill. Go ahead and clear the search. Just like before, we can add something here. Let's go with a clouds. Clouds 2. Triplanar projection, so we don't have the seams popping through, adjust the tiling a little bit. Up the contrast and the balance down a bit. Let's set this through multiply. So now wherever we have that dark value, the effect is going to be less strong of the details. Up the tiling. Just the balance. So just something like this. I think we're taking away too much detail. So we can just go ahead and adjust the opacity of this. And if we tone it down, we get everything back. Let's just start toning it up until it's nice and subtle, the variation. And that's looking pretty nice. Do you think that perhaps we can make it a little bit more light, the details? Saturation a bit. Maybe something like that. Now you can see this starting to look like a pretty natural, worn out looking ladder. And that should do it for our details. So right now we have base values and then we have details.